Welcome back to the Fresh Rental, where we sit down with the people shaping the future of the rental industry. Today's guest brings a global angle, second generation rental operator, and co host of the Rental Journal podcast. Michael Larsen, welcome.
Michael, go ahead.
Thanks, team. I'm pretty thrilled to be here. I think we can all agree that the rental game's changing fast, and we're entering very much a decade where the biggest competitive advantages won't be our fleet, but the biggest competitive advantages are going to come from our team's talent, culture, and the behaviors that you repeat daily, which I think perfectly aligns and why I love what you guys are building with your conversations here on the Fresh Rental, creating a platform by and for the next generation of rental leaders, providing us as the next generation not only with the theory behind how that we can build a career in the rental community, but highlighting impactful stories and for us to learn via lived global experiences. So absolutely over the moon to be here, and hopefully we can bring forward some fresh perspectives during our conversation.
So, tell us a little bit more about yourself. How did you actually start in the rental industry?
Yeah, in a way, my journey in the rental industry started before I really knew it. Our rental store here on the east coast of Australia, which we focus primarily on power and HVAC product, was founded by my parents, Dave and Caroline, in the early 2000s. So I've been incredibly fortunate to have grown up in this environment, watching and observing them build this business from zero to what we see here today. I remember when I was probably no older than 6 or 7 years old, watching dad put together unit number 11 into our rental fleet and him saying, "That's it, I've made it. That's as big as the business is ever going to get." And reflecting on this statement only a few months ago, moving into the hundreds of rental units and nudging dad saying, "Hey, mate, what happened to unit number 11?" So he just shook his head and walked off. But I think that to me, that's a true definition of success as a rental business owner.
But did you always see yourself in rental or did you try to avoid it early on?
I didn't always see myself in the rental industry early on. Not that I avoided it or pushing off the rental industry as an opportunity, but my goal during my studies was to fly for Qantas and be an international airline pilot. And graduating in 2020, when there was more pilots and flights, pumped the brakes on that aspiration for me. But I joined the Australian Hire and Rental Industry Association's Young Professional program that we have here in Australia and grew, I think, very much fast from that process, from starting basically from the very start of my role within our business. So I was very fortunate enough to win the Australian Young Professional of the Year award, which took me to the States that following year with the ARA and the opportunity and experience of the Rental Exchange program. And now working with our Young Professionals Alumni Committee and also Vice President for our state chapters. And like you mentioned, also co-hosting the Rental Journal podcast with Mark. This platform has truly blessed me and presented further opportunities to see your amazing country, providing opportunities to foster unbelievable relationships and globally connecting with amazing minds across the equipment rental industry, like being here with yourselves today. So I think in reflection, and as they say, sometimes the biggest nightmares present opportunities for growth, instills you with resilience, and in hindsight ends up better than you ever would have imagined. So when the goal is experienced, you can never lose.
Impressive trajectory you've had in the industry. You must have some interesting stories, some interesting facts that have happened. What was like the first this industry's no joke moment for you?
Yeah, so I'd say there's three that really come to mind. First was definitely attending my first Australian Hire and Rental Industry Association's trade show. Attending this literally within months of joining the industry exploded my visibility into rental, meeting the young professionals community, seeing the volume of equipment available, new technologies, and listening to amazing minds of the rental community, and attending networking events that allowed me to build not only lifetime industry connections, but lifelong friendships. I would say the next flabbergasting rental moment would have been walking onto my first ARA show floor. All of the same emotions and feelings that I mentioned previously, but just 10x. The US is like Australia, but just on steroids. But I would just say that the most important this industry is no joke moment has to be the people in it. They're no joke. They're some of the most dedicated, talented, and down to earth individuals around.
Yeah, man, it's I completely agree with you. And actually, we will be attending our first ARA show this March this year, and I think it's going to be crazy. I'm so excited. And we've talked about like important moments, some stories, but I've seen that the people that make it in this business have like good habits and just repetitive good behaviors that they have. So, like, what daily habits or behaviors shaped how you see rental today, in your personal opinion?
Yeah, I'd say after the hundreds of conversations globally that we've had on the rental journal, I consistently see four leadership archetypes that drive rental performance. They're not traditional disc personality types, but four team environmental characteristics. I would say number one is what I would describe as like the firefighter. They're super decisive, they're reliable, and they thrive in urgency. The second one would have to be the engineer. They're a master systems builder. They're very process driven and obsessed with the numbers. The third is the community builder, a culture creator, a relationship first mindset operator, and they're very loyalty focused. And the final one has to be the visionary. They're a long term thinker. They're growth driven and ultra innovation focused. But the key though, and one important aspect is not one is more important than the other. The strongest rental teams and strongest rental companies don't rely on one. They build teams where all four are present. And that's when operations truly perform.
Yeah, and that's I think one of the hard parts of the rental business, like hiring the right people and building the right team. Do you have any tips for that?
Yeah, for sure. I think the companies that grow aren't always the biggest. They're the ones that do the small things right, and these small behaviors compound and compound faster than interest. They're built on the idea that these small daily behaviors, when repeated consistently, they create momentum that brings an organization to a level of being almost unstoppable. Not chasing those big transformations, but the boring daily repeatable behaviors that separate the good ones from the great. And that's what brings people into your team is that consistent focus on being the best, not being the biggest.
Yeah, that's super valuable, man. And now we've talked about behaviors and habits, but what I see in this business when I deal with my customers, which are rental companies, are like the patterns, and I see things repeating themselves everywhere. So, like across all the companies you talk to, like what problems appear everywhere? Like what problems do you see repeating themselves?
Yeah, I would say that there's probably six key components. The reliability. You have to answer a phone. You have to keep your promises. Responsiveness in rental. Speed enhances trust. If you can get equipment there consistently, but also extremely fast. That's the key. Competence and having that technically excellent team, having those team members within your organization and fostering and building them and giving them a leash to really unlock their potential. I'd say with regarding reputation, the market really tells the story for you. And that's built by that talent gravity that we mentioned prior, having high standards, attracting high performers. And the last one and the hardest part is doing all of those things consistently. That's the biggest thing is how we can potentially be great one day isn't going to be fostering a long-term strategic benefit for our business. So the biggest one, and I would say, like you said, the things that might appear everywhere that are letting companies down is consistently doing what you set out to do every day.
Okay, so now we talked about like the good things to do, but like what behavior kills a rental business slowly? What do you think that it's a bad habit and a bad behavior that kills the companies?
Yeah, I'd say indecision or the inability to make a decision or not making a decision is still a decision. Rental moves fast. Waiting for the perfect moment leads to that moment never presenting because that, as they say, you miss all of the shots you don't take. We need to operate with cautious optimism, calculated risk taking, empower our people, and seek proactive action takers over conservative risk adversaries. This is a very reactive environment we service. So I think being proactive in your decision making and not waiting for the perfect moment will lead to not killing the rental operation at all.
So taking that into account, man, do you think operators underestimate like how much the daily rhythm determines whether they scale or break?
Yeah, I would say so. I think momentum is everything. I love the analogy of an upward spiral. It's like the opposite of a traditional downward spiral, that a positive feedback loop where one good thing leads to another creates a cycle of improvement. There's a neuroscientist and he describes it as rewire. By replacing negative patterns or downward spirals into focusing on small strategic improvements that lead to bigger successes. They create momentum for sustainable scaling, enhance culture from collective direction, and builds internal resilience. So I would say that, yeah, you're 100% on the money. That daily rhythm and momentum is everything in rental.
Gotcha. Now I want to go back a little to what we talked about people and talent, because on my personal opinion, that's what makes or breaks a rental company, right? We've talked and you've said before that the real battle isn't equipment, right? Because you can have as much equipment as you want, but it's talent. Why do you think it is?
Yeah, I believe we're going to see a talent gap, especially by 2030, in both a true
Hmm.
talent shortage perspective and as a leadership development issue, both sides. Our baby boomers or our leaders in the industry, they're retiring. I'd say
Hmm.
the institutional knowledge is disappearing, low visibility of industry optionality. Younger generations want growth, they want meaning, mentorship, and our operations and industry is scaling faster than the current talent pool, and culture is becoming a deciding factor for these young people. We don't need more fleets, like you said. We need more leaders, more mentors, and career storytellers. The rental industry is one giant apprenticeship model, I believe. It has so many avenues for growth. I think it's important for us to understand that early career investment matters. Young people are being retained when they're provided with identity, community, and with purpose. Young people like myself, we're attracted to what I would describe as this talent gravity. Companies with clear values, high standards, growth pathways, mentorship structures, and exposure to industry networks. I think we need to focus on being a lighthouse, not a tugboat, being advocates for this industry that's given us all individually so much, which is why opportunities like the Young Professionals are expanding globally. Initiatives like the Born for This campaign, driven by the ARA, where they've had this amazing media around the possibilities of career in the rental industry, to conversations like we're having today, are so vital. And I'm so proud to being a part of, because, like you said, fleet is becoming increasingly accessible for everyone, but talent isn't. So, how can we really expand the exposure for people external to our industry?
So I have a question over there because you've talked about several things which I find very interesting. So mentorship, growth, the new generations, like how they want to leave a mark, how they want to matter. But when I talk, for example, to the rental operators, they tell me that it's a pain in the butt to hire anyone, that there's a true talent shortage. They cannot find any good salespeople, any good people, any good maintenance, that it's hard to find them, that no one wants to work. So it's this dilemma of, is it like a true talent shortage? Or is there a leadership and development issue? What do you think?
Yeah, I would say it's both, right? I'd say the true talent shortage, or the pool that we can pick from, is small due to a lower visibility of our industry being an option. That would be number one. But
Hmm.
I think it's more from the leadership development issue is the bigger aspect, because I had this conversation with someone the other day that when the bomb sniffing dog teams are choosing dogs to train.
Hmm.
They never pick a specific pedigree. So again, that would link back to the talent pool. They're not looking for a specific person. They're looking for, sorry, a specific dog. They're not looking for a specific breed. They're looking for the one that is coachable, trainable, and looking to develop. So yes, the pool might be small, but I think the biggest thing is providing people and showing them the opportunities in our industry that can only be done by increasing the visibility within it. So I would say that while the pool might be small, I'd say the people are there, but they're just looking for different things that we need to meet in the middle on.
Yeah, and Now let's go back to mentorship because that's something I think everyone needs in their lifetime. Have you had like a clear mentor for you and how did you look for them? Was it your family? Please tell me a little about that. Who mentored you?
Yeah, I've been extremely fortunate from growing up in an environment of having many mentors throughout my life. Whereas that from my family, with our business, my dad, to sport, to within school, to then obviously more formal mentorship with the Hire and Rental Industry Association. I actually got off the phone to the mentor that I was given within the Young Professionals program before we jumped on our call, Mick, this morning, and we catch up as much as we can. And he's running his business. They're about an 8-hour drive from me. We're in the same state, but it's a big
Mhm.
country,
Yeah.
Australia. So look, I've been extremely blessed with many mentors, direct and indirect, through this industry. And that's such a strong cultural aspect of our industry that we need to, again, display to this talent pool of the opportunities of gaining immense experiences from people that have done so much and wanting to teach, wanting to mentor, and wanting to help others, which is such an amazing part of our industry.
Yeah, love it, man. Now, let's go back to the team. What do you think strong teams do differently when things go sideways? Because we know that in rentals, sometimes you have to put out fires like that. So you have to be very reactive at times. And things go sideways pretty regularly. On your personal opinion, what do strong teams do differently to handle this?
Yeah, across the world, I think we're seeing the same pressure points that experienced operators are retiring, complexity is increasing, customer expectations are rising, and the younger generations, like we were saying, they want purpose, growth, and mentorship. I'd say the biggest constraint over the next decade won't be capital, it'll be leadership density, like we mentioned. So I'd say this is where culture, vision, and brand passion become the ultimate competitive advantage. And that's really when those three things aren't looked at, that's when the operation goes sideways, like you said. I believe that culture is the solution to this talent crisis and perfectly ties into how we can align our teams to create experiences and not facilitate transactions. A great example of this was a conversation I had with the CEO of Harry the Hirer, Gab Robinson, on the Rental Journal podcast. Harry the Hirer is
Hmm.
the Southern Hemisphere's largest event rental company. They bring Formula One, the Commonwealth Games, and Australia's biggest events to life. Gab explained that their consistently astonishing culture with having over 1,200 employees across Australia. It can't be manufactured, but it's developed and grown from being in the trenches together through shared hardship, shared pressure, and through shared wins. And that's why it lasts. That the top 1% talent isn't attracted by money or compensation, they're attracted by mission, growth, belonging, togetherness, and leadership. I've often heard people say that rental teams operate like special forces. Like you said, we work in controlled chaos. We make rapid
Yeah.
decisions with imperfect information. We rely on trust, not hierarchy. Everyone is multi skilled, and the mission always becomes first before the ego. I'd say the top 1% talent is attracted to that environment and they want belonging to something more meaningful. So the companies that can master this and won't have those issues of going sideways, I believe, and can probably even guarantee, will grow their leaders faster than their competitors can even grow their fleet.
Yeah, I completely agree. But now let's dive a little deeper into the experiences thing. Because someone that's not in the industry, like in the trenches of the industry, would just think that renting is just, hey, I go to a counter, I rent a skid steer, then they deliver it to me, or I call and they deliver it to me, and that's pretty much it, right? But now we're talking experiences and how everything has changed in the industry, right? So it sounds very romantic, like how everything is transitioning from transactions to experiences. But what does that mean in real terms? Like in the real world, what does that mean?
It sounds like a movie, but I think rental's
Yeah.
moving through a clear evolution. There are really three levels of the provided rental experience. Level one, like you said, I need equipment. Level two
Hmm.
would be I need some uptime or some enhanced processes and reliability. And number three, or the third level from the customer, is I need a partner who protects my operation. which is the future of rental. First was about
Mhm.
ownership substitution. I need equipment, I don't have it, you have it. That's number one. But now the future is really an operational partnership of saying, I need someone who can protect the outcome of my project. Customers want digital convenience with human reassurance, I really think. Companies that
Mhm.
are really winning at the moment, getting this right by building services, removing friction, and delivering experiences, like you said, that feel effortless. And I'd say this is where independent rental companies have a massive competitive advantage. You can
Yeah.
specialize, you can move fast, you can build deep expertise, you can design these experiences around specific customer problems. And it's probably a bit of a contrarian take, but don't copy the big players. The independence advantage is your agility, the intimacy you can have with your customers, the niche expertise you can develop, that founder led energy, and the community that you can build through your relationships. A broad strategy really dilutes culture. Trying to appeal to everyone results into not appealing to anyone at all. And it leads to team burnout from having a confused brand identity. I would say that we really have to see that this younger generation that are now becoming our customers, they've grown up with experiences. They've grown up with Amazon's frictionless convenience, Apple's intuitive design, Amazon's ultra, Netflix's ultra personalized experience, and Uber facilitating outcome based services. The old rental mindset was that product, price, process to the customer. But
Yeah.
younger customers, they're starting with the problem, looking for an outcome, then finding the product. And that's why the next generation is going to lean towards these experiences. So I'd say it's not generational, it's just how the future of rental will look like, is providing these solutions to problems, not just presenting a transactional relationship.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And do you have a real life example of who's getting this right now?
Yeah, for sure. I think, like I mentioned before, those companies that are so focused on being the best at what they're doing and being
Mhm.
unmissable to a specific customer group, not trying to be visible to every customer group, that they win by
Oh,
being the
okay.
best in the world by being the best at their niche.
Gotcha. Super clear on that one. And now we talked a lot about digital agility right now, but what should the next generation focus on like in the coming years, apart from that we already talked?
I would say that the biggest one is to be proactive. 20 minutes of preparation makes you seem 20 IQ points smarter. Be consistent.
Yeah.
1% better every day. That compounds over 365 days of your calendar year. And I would say be curious. Seek the answers to everything. Ask the dumb questions, the why questions, to really find new solutions and engage in the process of discovery. It gives you resilience against the uncertainty of what rental is. Be afraid to ask the silly questions because, again, you're going to pay that ignorance cost down extremely fast, especially like myself. I'm 23. I'm extremely cognizant of the fact that I don't know everything.
Yeah,
So, looking for
of course.
mentorship, asking the silly questions, and really diving into how you can become better every day. That's the biggest components.
And besides the not asking questions, which I think is a huge mistake, not asking whatever you have on the top of your mind, what mistake do you hope the next generation avoids? Because you've seen like the generational, like how your family company grew from scratch, and you've seen the generational gap and everything. So, what mistake do you hope the next generation avoid?
I'd say trying to shortcut mastery. There's no fast track around learning the fundamentals. Look, I'm perpetually impatient, like many others within this generation. Whilst the shortcuts might grant fast initial success, I'd say that if you're looking really to solidify long-term greatness in the rental industry, that requires putting the reps in. So you can't really avoid sometimes just doing the reps.
Gotcha. So persistence and consistency, that's key
Sure.
until you get it right. Yeah, awesome. I completely agree, man. Now, for the last part of the show, we like to do something called the lightning round. So it's fast questions and fast answers. You ready?
Let's go.
Awesome, man. Last song you had playing.
Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus. You said lightning round, so I don't need to elaborate.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it's all you, man. It's all good. What show are you watching right now?
I know you and we're pretty linked on the love of Emily in Paris.
Yes, sir. Actually, I just finished the last season. I got pretty hooked on it. I just binge watched it a whole weekend. So I understand. Best show right now.
I love shows
Now,
that you can just turn off, watch, don't have to do any thinking.
yeah, just think about something else from the hustle of the day to day. I completely understand. Now, Chick-fil-A, Taco Bell, or McDonald's, what's your order?
We don't have access to Taco Bell across Australia, and we don't have Chick-fil-A at all. So I would pick McDonald's, but the waffle fries at Chick-fil-A, I've had them when I was in the US. They're a bit of a standout.
Yeah, those guys. Oh man, they're addictive. Like you can have a huge back of those. I love them with all the Polynesian sauce. You've tried that one?
Yeah, for sure.
Loved
The,
it,
the
man.
Chick-fil-A
Love it.
sauce.
Yeah, also that one. Also that one. I'm a big sauce guy. Now, let's go back to rentals. Favorite rental tool, workflow trick, or habit that you swear by?
Building a brand and a culture that's so strong that clients can't separate the individual from the business.
Wait, that's not a fast answer. I love it. Let's dive a little deeper into that.
I would say
How does that work?
when a customer links an individual to an outcome, they're not looking at the product or the outcome as something that's stagnant. They're looking at the individual and supplying that solution for them.
Awesome. I love it, man. I'll take that back to the team. I love how you're thinking over there. And now, who do you challenge as our next guest to the show?
I would say someone that's a fresh operator, someone that's building a rental business in 2025, because again, starting a business today, like we said, that complexity is only increased. So we talk to a lot of people that might have started their rental business 20 years ago or have continued generationally from their grandfather to their father to themselves, and they're a 60-year business. But someone that started a rental business in 2025, 2026, someone working behind the scenes, that would be interesting.
Gotcha. We'll try and get it. Okay, so man, Michael, thanks for joining us and keeping it real on the show. These conversations really help operators understand where the industry is heading, and it really empowers the young generation, which is the whole purpose of this show. So we really appreciate you, man. Appreciate your time.
I'm excited to see where the fresh rental goes next. I really appreciate the opportunity of being a part of this today. Excited for a future journey together, catching up with you in your home state in Florida, and I'll see you in sunny
Yes.
Orlando. So thank you.
Yes, sir. We'll see you there. So, guys, that's what the Fresh Rental is all about. And catch you on the next one. Thank you.